Hello, and welcome to The Cast of Us, a podcast dedicated to The Last of Us on HBO and brought to you by the Fan Critical Podcast Network. Welcome to the deep dive review of The Last of Us, Episode 2, titled Infected. Now, joining me this week is my fellow survivor, a man as gruff and some say as tortured as Joel. It's John.
Yeah. Hi, how are you?
Sounds like you've got a lot going on in that melon of yours, doesn't it?
Yeah, in my Swede. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's all good, mate. It's all good. Looking forward to this, obviously. I know it sounds like I'm
Always.
not, but I genuinely am. I'm sad a little bit to lose Gaz this week. He obviously can't make it.
Yeah, well, listeners, we've got some news. Now, of course, usually joining us is little Gareth, and some of you might have heard him on the hot take yesterday. But unbelievably, he's gone missing. Now, in these sorts of situations, we would send out a search party if we can be bothered.
He's a goner.
He's a goner.
He is a goner.
You know, we talk about how weak and feeble he is. Is it worth it, John?
Pointless.
Is it worth it for us to go out there for him?
Yeah, unless
Agreed.
he's like, if he's carrying something of use, you know, then it's like, we'll go out and at least get that back. But yeah, I mean, he is definitely dead.
Yeah, definitely dead. No, just joking, listeners. He's fine. Don't worry about it. He'll be back next week. But, you know, you've got me and Gruff Boy John this week. And John, famously, you are a show-only viewer of the series.
Yes.
A shownly, yes. A man who wants to give us his truly uninfected thoughts and watch the show as a standalone piece of media.
Yep.
Now, you're not burdened by any of this video game nonsense, are you? Which is lovely.
Definitely not.
And you loved episode 1. So, my dear friend, what did you think of episode 2? And how many delicious, delicious blueberries would you give it?
It's another good episode, isn't it? You know, it's
Yeah, boy.
I mean, look, they're not fucking around in this show. They are getting on with it. There's no like, you know, there was a little tease of a clicker on a rooftop at the end of episode 1.
Yeah.
And this episode, it's like, no, look, straight into a set piece. So good on them for that. Another episode, another major death, character death. I wonder if they're going to do that every episode this series.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to spoil anything,
saying.
for anyone who's just a show watcher. But you know, I've said it before, John. It's not, you know, it's not a very happy story.
No, no, I'm definitely getting that. It's quite difficult to compare this episode to the first one. I was talking to someone earlier, actually, and I said it. I didn't think it was as good as the first episode, but that's kind of unfair because it was a bumper episode. It was basically 2 episodes in one.
Yep.
And it's obviously got the opportunity to set the scene. Everything's new. I felt like there were probably parts of this episode that were quite slow, I think, actually.
In a good way, though.
Yeah. Well, look, you know me. I like the story being slowed down to learn a little bit about the characters. But obviously, look, the key kind of part of this episode is this set piece in the museum. And it was brilliant. You know, horror. I mean, it's just a horror film, isn't it? It's just, you know, elements of Alien in there. So yeah, look, another stellar episode. I'm going to give it 4 bloobs out of 5. I don't think it quite hit the heights of the first episode. I think that there were genuinely some bits at the beginning where I was kind of like, get on with it. But that's fine. That's fine. This felt like a longer episode than. So episode 1 didn't feel like it was 90 minutes. This felt like it was 50 minutes. I felt it a little bit more. I also would like to see a little bit more of the city, a little bit more of the skyline, and we could have even had this episode not even show, clickers or stalkers or anything like that.
They've got a lot of things to introduce, basically, and there's only 9 episodes, remember, not 10. So we're going to have quite a bit to do. I will echo most of what you're saying. I actually really liked it, and I said this in the hot take. Like, it's slowing down, and it's just essentially Tess, Joel, and Ellie walking and exploring the city, trying to find the right way to the state capitol building, and I felt it worked brilliantly for letting the characters just have moments of discussion amongst themselves. You're getting little layers of Tess, which I think are really important here. See rays of hope filter into her mind, even though she doesn't really let on to it until the end of the episode. Whereas you see with Joel, you see how closed off and sort of he refuses to let any sort of hope ever enter his mind because he just doesn't want to get hurt.
It's the hope that kills you.
It's the hope that kills you. Being an Englishman, John, we know that more than most sometimes. In sporting terms, that's what always happens. It's the hope that kills you. We're tryhards at sport, really.
Well, it might happen this time. We've lost again.
Oh, God. Every time, heartbroken. But I really like the slower pace. I like the fact that it builds up this tension until you get to the museum set piece, and it feels earned. That scary moment with the clickers, it feels like they really earned it. Like it felt like that, like the tension in the Outbreak Day worked last week. It was slowly ratcheting up, and then it all broke loose, and it made sense. And here it was the same for me. And obviously the end is a fucking heartbreaker. I said in the hot take that brought a tear to my eye, and it does. It does, because I think Anna Torv's Tess has been fantastic. I think her acting, like in the speech she gives Joel at the end, it's just A+. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, she's really good.
And her and Joel, like her and Pedro Pascal, they seem to bounce off each other so well.
Rumours
that it's kind of a shame that she's gone, because I would have loved to have seen a bit more of it. But like you said, they're not holding back. They're just going for it. The story is not slowing down, and I'm happy that that's the case. I'm happy it looks like they're adapting the first game into the first season. It's tracking that way at the moment. So I'm very happy that they're not like drawing it out and making it like a 4 or 5 season show across the 2 games. Now, like you said, it's hard to compare the first episode and this episode. Now, the first episode we gave a 5. But that's because it did a very good job setting everything up. It also showed the outbreak. There's stuff in here which I wasn't expecting, like the Jakarta cold open, which we'll get onto in a minute. But it blew me away. Like those little extra bits of information are just, for a video game player like myself, are like gold dust.
Gold dust, yeah.
Right? It's just like, this is awesome world building. Even though I said in the hot take, originally I was like, I'm not going to like it at all. I ended up fucking loving it by the end of the scene. So I'm going to give it another 5, John, because I don't think you can necessarily have a go at it because it's not the premiere. Do you know what I mean? It still did everything. If this was just an episode of any other show, I would give it a 5 because I love the dialogue, I love the acting, I love the set piece, I love the set design. There's nothing about this episode which disappointed me,
I don't think you're going to score any of these episodes less than the 5.
If that's the case, John, then this will be the greatest show I've ever seen, probably. So, I mean,
so far, does it feel like the greatest series that you've ever seen?
It's so hard for me to differentiate the game and the show, and the show's doing a fantastic job. I know the story, so I know the story for me is one of the best stories I've ever experienced. So,
here's
the way they're
one for you without
adapting it,
without kind of being spoilery, but if it is going to and I think you're right. I think I said this ages ago anyway. That the first game is just this first series. What's going to be the worst episode?
Oh, that is. I don't know.
It's worth a guess.
Well, look,
isn't it?
next episode, it's already been alluded to. We're getting Bill and Frank.
Yep.
So that's going to be good. I'm going to tell you right now, that's going to be good.
Well, I mean, you've given it 5 bloobs already, haven't you?
Yeah. I don't want to say more than that. I don't want to spoil it for the lovely listeners. Anyone who's just coming at it from a show perspective.
Yeah, I'm not saying that you have to name any characters or anything like that. I just think where the story slows down potentially, where you're a bit like, I don't know how that's going to translate to screen. If it follows the pacing that it has done with the game,
it's all good, John. Because it's honestly, there's so much that happens. Honestly, I know that sounds like I'm just fucking just being a bit of a cop out, but I'm just thinking about the sections of the game, and something interesting happens in everyone. There's no section of the game that is dull. This game is so tight, so well told that trust me, listeners, you're in for a treat. You're in for a bloody treat.
There you
go. All right,
5 bloobs.
Now, 5 bloobs. Now there's going to be a little musical interlude and some adverts, and then when we come back, we're going to talk about the plot of episode 2, titled "Infected," directed by Neil Druckmann himself. See you on the other side. Okay, John, let's jump into it. On September 24th, 2003, 2 days before official Outbreak Day, which is September 26th, 2003, in Jakarta, Indonesia, a mycologist, Ibu Ratna, is enjoying her lunch when she's grabbed by some government soldiers and taken to a lab to study something peculiar. She learns that the cordyceps fungus has found a way to mutate and infect humans, with patient 0 believed to be at a flower and grain plant. She then goes on to say there is no medication, no vaccine possible, and advises that the government bomb every city to slow the spread.
Yeah, just bomb it all, innit?
Just bomb.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to take your advice for that. Obviously, you're a scientist, and we'll trust you for that. But I mean, now you're advocating for just carpet bombing civilians. Like, fucking hell. Honestly, it's like COVID all over again, isn't it?
Yeah, she's gone from 0 to 100 there. He was hoping for some sort of close off the city. Maybe kill a few people.
We have to contain it, don't we? Just bomb all of it, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm going to go home.
Bomb it. It's kind of bleak, though, isn't it? I found it really effective. I thought her performance... very bleak, yeah. I thought her performance was fantastic and very, I don't know, it was just so well constructed. Did you like this cold open? Yeah,
look, I'm well behind this... this thing they've got going on. It kind of would be silly for them to now not do it every episode. Feels like
I was going to ask you that.
They have to do that now.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask your predictions about whether or not they end up in different parts of the world.
I was going to say, one of my notes here was ask John if they think they're going to do this each week, and then that's literally my next note. And I was going to say it's very Breaking Bad, and I said this to Gaz in the hot take, how they're using these cold opens to just give people who play the game a bit of extra context, but also to surprise us and shed more light on the world building, which didn't need to happen in the game, but I do think in the show it's actually amazing. I think it really helps give context to what's going on.
Interesting if one of the cold opens where they're discussing just bombing London. They're like, just bomb all of it.
Yeah.
But then it turns out it was like 20 years before the infection anyway. So,
what?
Yeah.
1983.
Just bomb
What
it.
why are we doing that?
Well, because I was born in 84, so
it.
obviously, we just have to bomb the whole city to make sure he doesn't exist.
As soon as he was born, they were like, "There's no containing him. There's no containing him. We've got to sort it out."
I like the choice to do it. I know in the hot take, one of you mentioned whether or not we kind of even need to know like the existence of or the start of or how it happened. And I'm not particularly fussed about understanding how it's come about, and I don't really care about that. I am just fascinated to see the impact of it on the rest of the world, and I'm sure we will. I'm sure we'll get parts of Europe at some point.
I just hope they don't eventually, because obviously there's only so much story that they can adapt at the moment. There's no Last of Us 3 game, and they've said they're not going to go past the game. I don't want them to do what The Walking Dead did and make like a Fear the Walking Dead type
spin-off,
show.
yeah.
I don't want that. I don't want any fucking spin-offs. I like the fact that they're expanding the universe, but let's just try and get this story right before.
Yeah,
I mean that's my only concern. But I don't think they will do that. I feel like they're very good at constraining themselves.
Yeah, that would be rubbish.
I did tease it in the hot take, and we're going to talk about how the outbreak started, and we're going to talk about this theory that was doing the rounds on Reddit last week, which I like, and I think it's pretty much confirmed by this cold open. So what we know is Jakarta was mentioned on the radio at the start of episode 1, and they're like, Jakarta, where is that? Anyway, turns out Jakarta has the largest flour and grain mill in the world. It is the largest exporter of flour and grain. Now, eagle-eyed viewers will have noticed last week there were several opportunities for the millers to eat baked goods that contain flour.
Oh, yeah.
However, they didn't. Nana had her biscuits, which then Joel was offered, and we see Nana eating them, and we know that she was infected, right? They also didn't have birthday pancakes because there was no flour. Joel also forgot the birthday cake when he came home. So all of these... and also Sarah didn't eat the cookies at Nana's house because they were raisin, and she didn't want that. Yep. So there were all of these opportunities where the millers could have been infected by baked goods containing flour, which pretty much confirms that even the Ibu Ratna lady says, who bit her? Who is patient zero? It's not. It's in the fucking flour, right? So that is fascinating, and I really like that theory. What do you reckon to it, John?
What does it mean?
What does it mean?
It's just, well, look, at least it's flour, as in the baked flour, as opposed to plants. I mean, let's not go, I don't know, like Day of the Triffids or The Fucking Happening, where it's like, well, the Earth's turning.
Oh yes,
The
Happening.
Yeah.
The Happening.
Yeah,
you fucked. The Happening is the trees, isn't it?
Yeah. They just release a pheromone because they've had enough of people, punishing the Earth. So they're like, well, we're just going to make people suicidal.
Yeah, that is kind of disturbing, that film, actually. Like some of the stuff in there. It's a good idea. I just think it's terribly executed.
Well, yeah, just bizarre.
Pardon the pun.
I didn't notice any of that cake stuff. I'm normally quite good with stuff like that, but
loves his cake. Ooh, delicious cake.
Oh, is that carrot
Len,
cake?
Did you?
Oh, yes.
Why don't you talk about the fact that they didn't bring in the birthday cake? Because I love cake.
This time last week, I had so much birthday cake because it was my daughter's birthday for breakfast. It was disgusting, honestly. Yes, I don't know what to make of it. I'm not sure that I care about its origin. So
Yeah.
if it's in the flower, then fine.
Yeah, I like the fact that they dodged bullets. Literally, like I quite like that there was so many opportunities for them to get infected. Because even Sarah in the car is like, "Are we okay? Yeah, we're fine. Yeah, don't worry, we're fine."
Yeah.
And at that point, they're just guessing. They have no idea how it started.
Well, that's what you do with kids, isn't it? You just reassure them. You tell them that it's going to be all right, even when it's not.
Even when it's not. Well, talking about reassuring kids, in the present in 2023, Ellie wakes up in the ruins of Boston. She sees Joel and Tess both watching her at gunpoint. They are convinced she will turn and that she can't be immune. She then explains she is being transported west to a Firefly camp with doctors and facilities in the hopes of her being used to find a cure.
Yeah.
What do you reckon to Ellie basically bathed in this sunlight, sort of top-down fetal position, very sort of saviour-esque? Yeah.
Yeah. No, that is true. I don't know what to make of her performance in this episode. I kind of feel like I think once we're up to like episode 6 and 7 and we've had large parts, which is also why I think they, made the decision to get rid of Tess fairly quickly.
Yep.
I think the show just wants us to follow those two as a duo, regardless of them, bumping into other people along the way. And I think their chemistry will get better. But some of Bella Ramsey's acting at the beginning of this episode, I don't know. I was kind of a bit. I sort of cringed a little bit at the. Obviously, I know it's supposed to be funny, and it's that's her personality, the twitching thing. And I don't know whether or not it's because I've seen it in the trailer over and over again.
I think you've seen it, yeah.
But when it happened, I was just a bit like, ugh.
Yeah, I think it's because you've seen it in the trailer. Genuinely, I think I do think it was. Obviously, we've talked about this.
It's one of them, isn't it?
The humour in the show is going to come from Bella.
Yeah,
it's going to come from Ellie.
Yeah,
very rarely Joel, but that will start to happen. But it's their relationship which brings the moments of levity amongst the horror that's going on around them, right? And Ellie is the vehicle for a lot of that humour.
Yeah.
Now, look, there's an ongoing joke in a game that her humour's terrible. She even reads these pun books. Yeah, so she's always delivering these terrible. You'd like this, John?
Yeah, I'd love it.
Terrible jokes. You love shit like that.
Yeah, can't wait for
and
that episode.
That makes it into the show. So that's. I get what you're saying though, because I think this is the most she's had to do. Obviously last week we only just got her at the end of the episode, and it's getting used to this routine with her and Joel and now Tess and the dynamic, and then it's going to be just her and Joel, and that is what, like you said, the show wants to focus on, because that is what's really going to warm your heart.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like you said, by the time you get to episode 4, 5 and you're fully in the swing of just Joel and Ellie, you're going to be like completely sold, I'm sure. I mean, look, I do agree. I think it's always tough at the start.
Yeah.
But I think she's doing a great job. And I've seen the episode twice now, and second time round, I'm very much sold on her being Ellie. And it's difficult because I've literally just played the game again.
Yeah.
Like literally. So I'm having to disassociate those characters with the new ones. And she's doing a great job. I actually wrote here that why didn't she share some of that juicy chicken sandwich? Because that was unbelievable, man.
Rude, isn't it?
You seen what are they eating?
Yeah.
Like jerky? What the fuck is... What were they eating? It looked terrible. It's like In the Road, where they're just eating like sticks. Like there's a point where fucking Viggo Mortensen and his son are just like eating this stick or something.
Are you going to finish that mud? Oh.
And I was looking at this like, what are they eating, man? Like, genuinely. But then I did think there's bread around that chicken sandwich, which also has flour in it.
Wow.
So
there you go.
Just saying. Is that a little
but surely not steel, though.
No, I know, not steel.
Bloody
but
hell.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. All right, no one have any sandwiches, otherwise you're going to turn.
Well, I've written here that Tess seems here to have a slither of hope that the world can be better. Joel is so broken, he refuses to allow that thought to even take hold. He's like, let's just send her back and kill her. Like, let someone else kill her. Otherwise we're going to have to fucking kill her. He's adamant. He's like, I don't want to have to kill a kid. I don't want to have to do that. You know?
Yes. And look, rightly so. You know, he's...
Yes. Who wants to do that? No one.
Yeah. I mean, the odds of this going to plan are very low.
Very low.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's why you're the pessimist of the group, John.
Well,
now,
realist.
As they wander through the destroyed city, overtaken by nature and fungus, Ellie explains how she was bitten, breaking into a derelict mall in the QZ, and she questions why she can't see the infected anywhere. Joel and Tess say there are two ways they can go, the long way or the way they all fucking die. They choose the long way.
Yeah. Yeah. But, okay, but this is what I'm talking about. So, you know, they're standing outside and you can see nature has reclaimed the buildings, and you've got the building that's toppled over, and it's like, it looks cool. And then it's like, right, they go into a building and you kind of avoid all that now, apart from a very talented frog that's, you know, trying to play a piano.
Blink, blonk, blink. I was actually watching that, John. You remember I had a spell during lockdown where I started to learn the piano. And
6 months, $2,000, and you can play chopsticks, and that's it.
No. Do you remember I sent you a video of me playing the Westworld theme?
Delete it immediately.
I sent John and the podcast group the Westworld theme, like me playing it, and I remember you cracking up. It was pretty bad. But I reckon this frog's got more talent than me, and I practiced for 200-300 hours, mate.
No, I mean, that frog must have had all the time in the world to be playing that piano. Surely that piano would be knackered. I don't understand how it's still in tune.
Well,
nonsense.
Any pianists, get in touch. Let us know how the strings get affected by water over decades, please. But yeah, John, it's interesting you bring up the fact that you don't go to those skyscrapers, because in the game you do that.
No, I know of that bit. I guess it's like, I'm not even fussed about them going to the skyscrapers, but it's more, you know, in like 28 Days Later, where he's just wandering around a desolate London. I wanted a little bit of that here in that first 15 minutes of wandering around, and a few more kind of I'm sure we'll get it later on, but just like cars that have been reclaimed, and like big streets, and you can see old school posters and stuff.
As civilization comes crashing down around us, it can get hard to fall asleep. I know that after a few of those House of Dragon episodes this season, it was definitely difficult to fall asleep. And I'm sure that's the same for you, dear listener. Well, writer and director Adam McKay isn't afraid to admit that adults need bedtime stories too. Join Adam McKay and friends for improvised, meandering tales meant to lull you to sleep. Stories of wayward polka dots, martial arts in mysterious platinum suits, and the terrifying panic of grabbing free stuff. And don't miss sleepy tales from guests like Sarah Silverman, Cole Escola, and Michaela Watkins. Listen to Bedtime Stories with Adam McKay on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. That's Bedtime Stories with Adam McKay.
It's like, I love all that.
So the posters are a big thing in the game, and like good talking points for Ellie and Joel, especially because Joel has context for them, and Ellie doesn't. So she's always very inquisitive.
Yeah.
About beauty posters, about movie posters, about band posters, which we talked about last week in Click a Corner. Now, I'm sure we're going to get more of that. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I think like genuinely the start of this episode is pretty slow because they are just wandering around. I mean, we see craters where the city was bombed, which ties nicely into the cold open.
Yeah.
Bomb.
Yeah.
And I've written here, it's mad how great the sets look. It looks incredible.
Yeah.
It looks just... I said this in a hot take. I can't believe it looks this good because I always thought this would be one of the biggest challenges for this TV show is the world design and how everything is overtaken by nature. The amount of work that has to go into this is insane. You think of a film like I Am Legend, which is one of the only films I can think of that has a similar palette in terms of nature reclaiming the city. But that's a film, you know, and a lot of it, although it's a good book, I think the overall sort of CGI in the film is so bad that I think you watch that film now and you will be like, oh God, yeah, you can see everything. Like you can see it's a set. You can see the CGI is terrible.
Yeah.
Here, they've actually gone for a very good mixture of that and practical effects. And the practical effects are really selling just this world to me. Like, I think it's going to look great decades to come down the line, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think the frog was CGI. I think the piano is real.
Do you know what? I was sitting there thinking... I genuinely was sitting there thinking, how on my second watch, obviously, how many takes did they put that frog on that piano for? Like I was sat there going, I bet they were there for fucking ages. Got to be some employment
law that's like, no, you can only have that.
How many hours? Yeah, how many hours can a frog work?
Yeah,
yeah. We've not got it today. It's his rap time. We're gonna have to set it all up again tomorrow.
Do you reckon?
Are you fucking kidding me?
Do you reckon that frog? They just found it, or they actually had to go to an agency for it?
Imagine that casting call. Frog, age 1.
Well, I mean, it's like, you know, you just find them anywhere. Then you just go to a swamp and you can catch them fairly easily.
Yeah, frog wrangler. What's your job on set? I'm the frog wrangler.
Yeah,
sorry,
I only need one.
Yeah.
Why have you brought 100?
You've got Neil Druckmann. You've got Neil Druckmann and Craig Manson on the radio. Like, have we got the frog yet? Still hunting them. Still looking for one. All right, shoots on hold. Yeah. So don't worry about it.
Where's the piano gone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, now the piano's out of key. For fuck's sake.
Scene ruined. Yeah.
So they go through. Talking about the frog, they go through what used to be a 5-star hotel. As they go further, they see thousands of infected in their way, which means they must now go the dangerous way through the museum. Now, John, have you ever stayed in a hotel that nice before? Before it was covered in water and
I've stayed in some
pads.
Very, very nice hotels. You know me, I like to spoil myself.
You're a big shot, are you?
Well,
big shot.
I'm not a big shot at all. Not a big shot at all. But I've
stayed in some... Are you saying you use our Patreon money to fund your lifestyle?
If I used our Patreon money to fund my lifestyle, I'd be sleeping in car park somewhere. So, yeah. No, it's... I mean, it's quite...
No, please give us money.
It's quite a nice... like, they've picked a hotel that clearly is a bit of an old school hotel as well.
Yeah.
You know, good choice. Bellboy and all that stuff. You know, traditional. I like it.
Gaz could be a bellboy, couldn't he?
100%.
He could be
100%.
Yeah, he'd be wearing one of those little fez hats, you know, little red fez hat with a tassel.
Yeah. Imagine seeing him in a hotel. You'd be like, your fez is familiar. Yeah.
Good, that.
Yeah.
I'll take my hat off to you for that pun, John.
Yeah? There he is.
Yeah.
No, look, I've stayed in some wonderful hotels. None that were, you know, sunken with a piano and a frog. But yeah, like again, you know that little bit, that little scene, you know, it's. I was less annoyed with Bella Ramsey's portrayal in that, you know.
See, she's warming up. She's warming up, John.
Yeah. Well, it's probably because I'd never seen it before, as opposed to seeing the twitching 50 times on trailers. But
that's right. I genuinely think that is what it is. So yeah, I love the music. I love the hotel set. I think it's great. You get these moments between Joel and Ellie here, where Tess goes to unlock the door, which is, you know, nice little bit of question time. Ellie's just like quick firing these questions at Joel, and he is like, "No more questions about me." And then she asks about the infected and how long they can live, and some have been out there for 20 years, which is kind of terrifying. But you start to see, you know, the relationship grow a little bit. You know, there's a little bit of banter here. But I said this to Gaz in a hot take. It's like, it's very much in its infancy. At the moment, they're very standoffish, you know, but Ellie is trying to, you know, to form this relationship with him.
Oh, yeah, I mean, you can tell she's just fascinated by Joel.
Yeah. She's like, and she asks about the fact the guy that he killed, and most people, remember when he punched him to death, most people, that would terrify them, but Ellie's like sort of impressed by it. Do you know what I mean? Which is kind of weird.
Oh, she's a child of the apocalypse, right?
She is, and I think that's going to play out for better and for worse as the show goes on.
Yeah. Spoiler warning. Yeah. No,
good. I just think, you know, being a child of the apocalypse. Anyway, as you know, they see these thousands of clickers or whatever, not clickers, thousands of infected. Sorry, and this is quite interesting, John. They mention something that is not in the game, and we'll talk about it maybe a bit more in Clicker Corner later on. But it's this idea of this network of the fungus connecting the infected, similar to Stranger Things, John, in a way.
Why is this, you know, why is this a thing?
Yeah. Well, it works quite well at the end of the episode.
No,
to be honest.
Well, I mean, that's fucking convenient, isn't it? Like, you know.
But what I will say is, I'm interested to see how this plays out now, because we'll talk about tendrils later. Delicious tendrils. I think that change has been fantastic. The tendril change. I think it's working really well.
I can tell you one scene where it really doesn't. You know, I wouldn't describe it as fantastic. I'll tell you
that. We'll get onto the sort of network situation in future episodes, I think, because I think right now, until we can really see it play out later in the show, there must be more of a reason for it, and I'm very interested to see what that is. Now, in the game, it doesn't happen, and now that's not to say that it maybe doesn't happen. Maybe they just don't know it in the game, or they don't, you know, understand the virus as well, and there's a bit more context for the virus and the world in this show. But yeah, there's definitely a change. But anyway, they decide to go the difficult way, which is museum. And as they navigate the museum, which is a very cool set piece, and this is where you're getting those alien vibes, or aliens vibes, John. They discover one of the most dangerous forms of the infected is in there, and they are clickers. Now, clickers can't see, but they can hear. And unfortunately, Ellie doesn't quite understand how well they can hear. She breathes a bit too loudly, and all suddenly, hell breaks loose. Joel eventually kills one and Tess the other, but not before Ellie is bitten again.
I know.
For fuck's sake.
Useless.
Yeah.
Game over.
Game over.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Well, usually, when you run into a clicker, it is game over if you get grabbed. Unless you've got a shiv in your back pocket, in which case, as I've said to you, always carry your shivs.
Shiv them away. Shiver me timbers.
Shiver my timbers.
Yeah, great scene. You know, great use of lighting. They tease you a little bit where the clicker comes, wandering in, stumbling in at 2 a.m. after being at a pub all day. Yeah. Really creepy movement, isn't it? Really,
it's very
unsettling.
Creepy,
So unsettling.
It is jittery. It's that sort of why we don't like spiders.
It is. It is why we don't like spiders. That creepy movement.
Because their limbs move in ways that our eyes can't really comprehend. The speed at which they move, and the clickers where they twitch and the movements they do is so unnatural to us that it is quite scary. It is quite evoking those same fears. Practical effects, John. I've written here outstanding. Looked fucking horrendous, these clickers.
Yeah, brilliant. Flower-esque, actually. Not the baking stuff.
No, the actual flowers,
yeah, kind of like Seymour.
There's a beauty to the horror.
Yeah.
Kind
of. Like a Venus flytrap. Kind of like that.
Yeah. Don't go in there.
Definitely don't go in there. You put your Pepperami in there, like the old school 1980s advert. So, look, I think if I was to think of something like The Walking Dead or even Dawn of the Dead, I mean, I love Dawn of the Dead, the original. Yeah. I love them both, but the original is king. But they're just so slow and useless, and also it's like, as they do in parody in Shaun of the Dead, it's very easy to act, isn't it? It's just fucking hell. Whereas these guys are like, I don't know. Britain's Got Talent breakdancers. They move in a way that they could be, actually.
Yeah, well, John, I've got some very interesting information about the clickers in Clicker Corner for you.
Yeah.
So you just don't go too far. Don't go too far into my Clicker Corner, son. All right, you stay back.
Yeah. I'll just put the Pepperami in there.
I've written here, this reminds me of Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
In the kitchen with the velociraptors, in a way.
But also
one of the most effective scenes in cinema history.
Yeah. I mean, that is very... I wonder if that was an influence when they shot this.
I wonder.
Yeah.
Genuinely. I think there's definitely elements to it.
Yeah.
Of course, it's a straight adaptation from the game, so they've got that material, but the way it's shot is very interesting.
Yeah.
That's what we mean, listeners. We're not saying that The Last of Us is inspired by Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
But,
well, no, but it is.
They're filmmakers.
So if you disagree, stop listening.
If you disagree, stop listening. Yeah.
Oh, but I mean, same as the T-Rex, right? It's just like, just stand still. Like he doesn't know. He's an idiot, isn't he? Just shh. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, I've sneezed.
Bloody idiot.
Oh, I've thrown something at his head. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. Yeah. An excellent scene. And look, this scene alone, when I watched it, and I was thinking about my score afterwards, and I was like, I could 5 bloob this episode, but it just I felt like I'd be doing a disservice to some other episodes later on in the season.
Yeah, fair enough, John. Your blueberries are your own to dish out how you please.
Yes.
I'm sure via the way you're speaking, the listeners know that you very much like the episode, so I wouldn't worry about that. Now, after this horrific scene, Tess has hurt her ankle, and they're on the rooftops, and they can see the state capitol building. Joel then asks Ellie if it's everything she'd hoped for before they make their way to meet up with the remains of the Fireflies. And we talked about this in the preview podcast. I talked about this in the video game podcast review. It's these moments, these small moments amidst all of the fucking chaos that goes on, which is why I love this story. Just a little beautiful moment. This is one of the most famous lines from the game. We'll talk about it in Clicker Corner. Is it everything you'd hoped for?
Shit.
And delivered beautifully. Yeah. Imagine that. She goes, no.
Yeah.
Is it everything you hoped for? She'd be like, no, that was fucking terrifying.
What the
can
fuck
we go
am I
back,
doing
please?
here? Yeah. Yes. I mean, it's the sort of thing that they'll play at like the Emmys when in the little promos that they do where one of them wins an award, or they both win awards. I don't know.
Oh, I think there's going to be some award chatter for this show.
Yes,
let's just say that. However, we thought Paddy Considine was going to win a fucking Emmy for his portrayal of.
That was a farce.
That is a farce. Yeah. How he didn't get nominated for that.
Not even
for House
nominated.
Not
Disgusting. Even nominated.
Anyway,
and
that's our
House
thoughts
of the Dragon
on that.
won
Jesus.
the best show as well. Oh my word! What a fucking travesty that was. Anyway,
absolute travesty. So don't think you can predict these awards, guys, because sometimes they make some ludicrous decisions. They arrive at the old state house to find that the Fireflies have been slaughtered by the infected. Tess then reveals she was bitten. And then showing Ellie's bite is healing, proving her immunity. She pleads with Joel to take Ellie west to get help from Bill and Frank and to make up for all their wrongs and horrors they have committed over the years.
He's like, who's Ellie West?
Hey, wait a minute. I've got Ellie. Where's Ellie West? Yeah.
Yeah.
This is just fantastic. The lighting in this scene, stunning. Like just it just looks incredible. Her impassioned plea to Joel, it got me, John. It got me. Another person that Joel cares for is going to die. Which is kind of why he doesn't open himself up. You know?
Well, yeah. I wonder if you're a viewer that has had nothing to do with the video games, because I know in the hot take you were saying you started crying at this scene. I was like, oh, go away. Just anything in it, just tearing up for nothing.
I'm a very emotional man, sensitive. Don't judge.
No, I am judging. I don't think she's had enough time really to.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
Like the impact of it, I don't know.
Obviously, I have the game experience where you have this journey together. It probably takes a few hours, and you're getting lines of dialogue throughout that. Also, so I've got the video game character in mind. I've also got Anna Torv's performance in mind. I think her performance is genuinely amazing. I think she's done a fantastic job. Her and Joel together has given complete new context to that relationship that you don't really get in the game. So there's a bit more weight to it. And I just think her performance is so fucking good that she's so emotional in that moment that I was just like, yeah, I'm sold on it completely, and devastated to lose her. There's a moment where she's like, he's like, let me see it. And then she goes to show him and he takes a step backwards. And I was just like, what the fuck? He's like scared of her now. Like, and that was a really interesting part to that scene. Do you know what I mean? Because they're like a couple, right? We're pretty certain that they're, they love each other to some extent.
Well, hold on.
Well, they've been together a long time from what we know, in the QZ. So it's just very interesting to me. I thought it was fucking amazing. Like, their whole dynamic in this scene really, it got me choked up. That's why I got choked up.
Yeah.
More loss. I hate that. It is what it is, but it's just more loss.
More next week, even more.
More and more. All right, then Joel then shoots an infected as they're sort of reanimating, alerting the others to their location. Tess convinces him to escape with Ellie as she stays behind and blows up the building, killing herself and the horde of infected. All right, John.
Sends him a little message, doesn't he? Sends him a little message through the vines.
Yeah. Oh, trouble over there.
Yeah. How you doing, mate? You all right? I'm dead.
Yeah. We'll talk about this in Clicker Corner because there's quite a few differences, which we'll get onto, but we'll save that for there. I want to talk about, we've talked about the hive mentality of the fungus, which obviously pays off here. Obviously, you said it's very convenient. I understand that.
Well, I mean, it is. I'm not having a go, but I mean, it is, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. I might have just been okay with noise just being a gunshot is fucking loud. It wakes everyone up. But like I said, I'm happy to. I was worried about the tendril thing, and then I think they fucking nailed that. So I'm interested to see how this plays out later in the season. Basically, talking about tendrils, delicious tendrils that are fucking disgusting. Right, I mentioned in the hot take that this is proper Cronenberg horror. This shit. This is like a throwback to some quite disturbing, sometimes very camp horror that was around in the 80s. And to see it again, like sort of coming back, I think it's quite horrific, and I'm a big horror person, someone who loves their horror, John, as you know. Especially body horror stuff, which Gareth mentioned. So Cronenberg's right up my alley, and that's why clickers are also, yeah. Enough of that.
He is known for that, yeah.
What did you think about the kiss of death that I've put on it, or the tendril kiss? It was disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, it's very disgusting. That body horror, that invasive.
Invasive.
Like,
that's the word.
Yeah, like it's. It's like when you get like serial killers in films, they use a knife. It's because it's personal, isn't it? It's like it's penetrative. Again, like coming back to Aliens, and the
face huggers.
Yeah, the face huggers, the face fuckers. Yeah.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah. They fuck your face, and then your chest bursts open a day later. So. Yeah, that, and obviously fuck it, I'm not even going to talk about Aliens, but regardless, it was disgusting.
Yeah.
It was really disgusting. And it was kind of, she's terrified, right? But, flinch a little bit. You'd be a bit like, ugh, get off me, man. Do you know what I mean? We've all been there.
She's just
late night in a club.
Yeah,
You're like, no way, man.
We have, John.
Yeah. Yeah. No way. I'm way out of your league. What's going on here?
Mostly when you're kissing people, I think they're doing that to you. Is that?
Don't be jealous. Don't be jealous.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, it was disgusting. Obviously this I was about to say zombie. Fucking hell, get cancelled for doing that. But this infected that comes up to her. So that's a stalker, is it? As I've read.
Yes, on the way to being a clicker. So you've got runner, stalker,
showrunner.
The stalker's usually runner's just a regular infected.
Yeah, yeah. Showrunner. Yeah.
It's stalker, clicker, bloater, shambler. So you've got these different types. Yeah, the stalkers. Now the interesting thing about stalkers is usually they're like hiding in the darkness and stuff. So I don't know whether that's just, I think it's hard to categorize this infected personally, but listeners, let me know if you think I'm wrong. It was not very stalkery, was it?
No.
Just fucking walking up to her and then, you know what I mean?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah. So. He looked a bit stalkerish.
Yeah, I guess. Like Gaz, he said in the hot takes, he's going through abandoned buildings. You see him fucking wandering around.
Does he actually do that? I did. I know he's obsessed.
He's too scared. He's too scared. He's obsessed with it.
Fucking making it up on the hot takes. Fucking hell, just pretending to do stuff to be more interesting.
I don't think he said he does it. I think he likes watching YouTube videos of people exploring.
No, he did say that as well. But also there was a bit where he was like, I don't know.
He'd shit himself, mate.
Yeah,
he's terrified of that sort of stuff.
Yeah. That's where he is now. He's trapped. That's why he couldn't make the pod. He's trapped in an abandoned blockbuster from 10 years ago.
Fucking hell. Well, obviously Tess does blow everyone up, and then Joel and Ellie escape. And Joel barely even looks back because, once again, he's lost someone that he cares about. And that is the end of the episode. Quite a short episode, but it definitely achieved a lot in its runtime.
Yeah.
We loved it, as you've heard. But you know what we love even more is clickers.
Ooh.
And they feature quite heavily in this episode.
Yeah.
So it's about time we jump into Clicker Corner for all of the video game Easter eggs and changes. See you on the other side. All right, John. What better place to start Clicker Corner than with the clickers?
Yeah.
So what I thought
Yes.
was cool here, yeah, and you were talking about this, about all the, break dancing and that. They kept the same actors that did the motion capture for the game for the show.
Oh, nice.
So I've written here, that's a very niche skill. So if you've got people who know how to be fungus monsters, then let them be fungus monsters, yeah? You don't need to get another casting
Correct.
call out.
Yeah.
You haven't got the frog wrangler. You're not having to get him involved. You just click a wrangler.
Job lot.
Yeah?
I know you get frogs and that. Can you break dance?
By any chance, are you a break dancer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's good.
Give him some work. Keep him employed.
Keep him
Come
employed.
on.
Yeah, why not? Imagine getting that cool. Do you know that weird thing you did motion capture for about 10 years ago or whatever it was?
Yeah.
Need you back. Need you back for a HBO TV show. Just do what you did back then. You got a fucking pittance back then, I'd imagine. But we're going to pay
They
you a
get
little
off
bit
the
more this
phone,
time.
and then they're like to their partner, like, "Guess what? We've hit the big time."
Yeah. No, that's
Remember that
good.
thing
I'm
that I
glad.
can do?
Yeah. No, that is. It's nice to see that they are well ingrained in the roots of the
Fungal
Last of
roots.
Us. Video game. That's good.
Yep. I've written here, and I'm going to write this in every clicker corner until the end of time.
Why not?
Backpacks.
Yep.
More lovely
More.
shots and use of the backpacks. But seriously though, can we please craft something soon? I need to see Joel craft a Molotov or a shiv, whatever.
Well, that's going to be
Please.
part of an episode where they're building their relationship.
Yep.
He's like, "Come here,
Yep.
let me show you how to do this." Blah blah blah.
That's a good
And
idea,
then
John.
he'll show her
It's a
how
nice
to do
idea.
something, and then whatever she's made will be how she saves his life or something. That's what will happen.
Yep. Now, I'm not saying this is there's obviously spoilers in Clicker Corner, so just take everything I say with a little grain of salt. There's a little giraffe toy on the floor, so close up of it. I won't say any more, but game players, you know. Next one, Ellie can't swim. This, of course, is probably the most overused mechanic in the game. To the point where it's kind of like there's actual like t-shirts of like fucking Ellie on a wooden pallet as Joel ferries her across a fucking body of water. It's going to be interesting to see how many times that happens. Now, I think they'll do it like once, but the fact she's mentioned it here is definitely going to play into the narrative, and it does play into the narrative. But in the game, it's I will say this, very fucking frustrating mechanic where you're like constantly having to find, hey, there's a wooden pallet over there. Then you go grab the wooden pallet, and then you ferry her across to the other side of the fucking lake or something. It gets tedious. By the time you've done it for like the 7th time, it gets fucking tedious. So hopefully the show just nods to it,
That'd be
maybe
a good
does it
episode.
once, and then doesn't. Yeah, could you imagine? I've put here Joel boosting Tess up. I was waiting for the triangle button.
Yes.
Q.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very good.
Sorry. Hey, give me a hand with this.
Joel.
Over here, Joel. Over here.
Yeah.
Ellie's knife. Now, it's interesting and something we didn't mention last week, but Sarah pulled out a cool-looking knife from Joel's drawer when she got money to fix the watch. I've no idea how that ties in at all, because it's not in the game. Like, I've genuinely got no idea. I just forgot about that whole thing, but then I remembered it. But seeing Ellie's knife here might have something to do with it. Does he still have this knife somewhere? Right? Of course, Ellie's main weapon in the game is her knife, and she always helps you out if you're grabbed by like, a fucking human or an infected, she might sometimes, occasionally help you out by stabbing them and letting you free. It's her main melee weapon, whereas Joel uses fists or bricks or bottles. She uses her knife, her little switchblade, which I thought was quite cool.
Yeah.
Do you think we'll see that knife again from Joel, the one in his drawer?
Doesn't make sense, does it? Kind of,
no.
I think if you think about the timeline of events, she leaves that knife in the drawer. She then obviously goes into town to repair his watch. He's obviously off to work. He then comes back late. They watch a film, pass out on the sofa. He leaves. So at no point.
Yeah.
I mean, fair enough. Like if he goes upstairs and goes, "I'm gonna get this knife before I walk into a police station," then fair enough, But I'd imagine no, we won't see it again.
Okay, it's weird why they showed it then. I'm just thinking about it now.
Yeah,
just weird. Anyway, we'll see. Walking across the wooden beam is exact like it is in the game. Is it everything you hoped for? Line straight from the game, and was beautifully delivered by Pedro and responded to by Ellie, who says, can't knock that view, which is very true. Jury's still out, but can't knock that view. That's what she says. The end of the episode is, in fact, different to the game. In the game, it isn't the infected that come for them in the Capitol building. It is actually Fedra, who have tracked them and the Fireflies to this location. Now, Tess still is bitten. She's still very heroic. She holds them off for as long as she can, giving Joel and Ellie a chance to escape into the subway system and then get out of the city. The change to the infected here was interesting, I felt. But I guess it keeps it it makes the story more contained and concise. If you're then going, oh yeah, no, it's Fedra that have turned up at the end of the episode, you'd be a bit like, oh fuck, who are these guys again? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. That's exactly why they've done it. Yeah.
And I quite like the fact, the episode's called Infected and it focuses on the infected, which is nice.
Yeah. At last, do you see Tess die in the game?
What you see is you go through some doors, you hear gunshots, then you actually have this view like on above the scene where the shootout happened, like the upper floors of the Capitol building, where you can see her dead body.
Right.
So you hear these gunshots, then you are like sort of stealthily making your way out of the city into the subway system, and you can see Tess on the floor, dead, basically.
Yeah.
So it's quite effective, to be honest with you. It's really well done. But I felt this way was very good as well. And you got the weird Cronenberg tendrils. So what's not to love?
Rank.
Absolutely rank. And John, that brings it to the end for Clicker Corner. It's been it's a good one, that one. I felt personally.
Learned some stuff.
You learned some stuff. And I hope the dear listeners learned some stuff as well. Maybe some stuff they missed. And that's it for the deep dive on The Last of Us Episode 2, titled Infected. We want to know your thoughts, theories, likes, dislikes on the show. So please do email us at fancriticalpodcast@gmail.com. You never know, your email might get read out on the pod in future. That's fancriticalpodcast@gmail.com. The email is in the show notes. It would be amazing and so kind if people could subscribe, share, and spread the word of the podcast. Your support does mean the world to us. And if people want to go even further and pay for John's expensive, very lavish lifestyle, they can join our Patreon and go to patreon.com/fancritical, where you can get access to bonus content and help us out financially. Yeah, delicious monies. And I promise John genuinely will not be spending it on hotels. And like he said, if he was spending it on hotels, it'd be like a fucking Premier or Holiday Inn at best.
Travel Lodge.
Yeah, he wouldn't be at a 5-star. Travel Lodge. Yeah. Right, John, thank you for joining me today. Really appreciate it.
Cheers, mate.
We better go find Gaz, because genuinely I am a little bit worried about him. like you said, he's probably in one of those abandoned buildings that he likes to explore.
Yeah.
So,
yes, those very dodgy buildings that he just keeps turning up to and meeting people at.
Yeah.
But whatever, lifestyle choice.
We'll see you for next week, listeners, for episode 3, where hopefully we get introduced to Bill and Frank. And until then,
catch you later, Bill and Frank.
And survive.